midst of a grand royal gathering, surrounded by family, friends, and people I trusted. Something unimaginable happened. My diamond ring, the one I had worn for years, was gone. The room, full of laughter and sparkling conversation, seemed to close in on me as I realized it had vanished without a trace. My heart dropped as my fingers brushed the empty space where the ring had once sat, a symbol of my family's legacy and the love passed down through generations. How could this happen here, in a room full of the people I knew best? My mind raced, filled with panic and disbelief, but I had to stay calm. I began to search frantically, asking around, trying to make sense of the situation, but no one knew anything. It was as if it had disappeared into thin air. I couldn't understand who could have taken it, or why they would, especially not in this setting. And then it hit me. The thief was closer than I could ever have imagined. It wasn't some stranger or outsider. It was someone in this very room, someone I had trusted, someone whose face had been in my life for years. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, and as I stood there, surrounded by familiar faces, I knew one thing for certain: I would find out who did this. And when I did, everything would change. If you want to know what happened next, share and subscribe. Let's continue this journey together and uncover the truth behind what was stolen that night. I stood there, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on me. The royal gathering, once filled with joy and laughter, now felt like a distant memory. The faces around me blurred as I tried to make sense of what had just happened. How could my ring be gone? I kept going over it in my mind, retracing every step, every conversation I'd had, but nothing seemed to make sense. I looked around at the people who had been so close to me, all of them seemingly caught up in their own conversations, their own worlds, while mine had just shattered. I couldn't breathe. My mind raced, but my hands remained still, almost numb from the shock. It wasn't just a ring. It was a family heirloom, a part of our history, a symbol of all we had built and all that had come before me. Losing it felt like losing a piece of my own heart. But it wasn't just the loss that hurt. It was the betrayal, the idea that someone in this room, someone I had trusted, could do this to me. I had spent so many years building relationships with these people, and now I was left wondering who among them would betray me in such a way. I couldn't stand the thought of it, but I knew one thing for sure: someone here had taken it. I walked slowly around the room, trying to keep my composure. I knew I had to stay calm. I couldn't let my panic show, but it was difficult. The more I thought about it, the more confused and hurt I felt. My stomach churned. I asked around, casually, as if it were nothing, but no one had seen anything. I even laughed with a few people, pretending everything was fine, but inside, my heart was pounding. I couldn't let on how deep the hurt ran. The idea that someone close to me, someone I had shared moments of joy with, could do this was overwhelming. I needed to find out who had taken it, but I had no leads. No one seemed to know anything, and yet the theft felt so personal. It wasn't just about the ring anymore. It was about trust, and that's what hurt the most. Every time I glanced at someone, I wondered if they were the one. Could it have been Anna, my cousin, who had always been like a sister to me, had been acting strange all evening? She had been standing by the table, a glass of champagne in her hand, but she wouldn't look at me. I tried to brush it off, but I couldn't ignore the feeling creeping up my spine. Something wasn't right. Why wouldn't she meet my gaze? I had known her for years, and this sudden change in her behavior made me uneasy. I shook the thought away. Maybe I was imagining things, but deep down, I knew something was off. I kept thinking back to that moment when I first realized the ring was gone. There had to be something I missed, some clue that would lead me to the thief. But what was it? I moved through the room, still trying to act normal, still trying to keep my composure. But the uncertainty was eating at me. Every laugh, every gesture, every word felt like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. The more I looked around, the more I realized that the truth was right in front of me. The thief was closer than I thought. The night seemed to drag on endlessly. The sound of glasses clinking, the soft murmur of conversations, and the occasional burst of laughter felt distant now. Everything around me was blurry, like I was moving through fog. The royal gathering had once felt so full of warmth and tradition, but now it was nothing more than a cold room filled with questions, doubt, and the deep ache of betrayal. I couldn't shake the thought that the person who had taken my diamond ring was someone I knew, someone I had trusted for years. It wasn't just the loss of the ring that hurt. It was the realization that I had been betrayed by someone close to me. That truth gnawed at me. Every time I looked around the room, I wondered, who is it? Who could have done this to me? It felt like a knife twisting in my stomach. My hands were still trembling, and my breath was shallow. I tried to stay calm, to keep my face neutral, but inside I was a storm. I had to find the thief, but how? I couldn't just accuse anyone without proof. I couldn't just walk up to someone and say, "Did you steal my ring?" I had to be careful. Every conversation I had, every smile I exchanged felt like a performance. I was hiding the truth beneath layers of politeness. The people around me had no idea how much pain I was in, how much anger bubbled up inside me. I had always prided myself on being calm, collected, in control. But now, I felt helpless. I didn't want to be the person who made a scene, the one who caused trouble at a family event. But this was different. This wasn't just about a piece of jewelry. It was about trust. It was about the years I had spent building relationships with these people, the people I had thought I could rely on. My mind kept circling back to Anna. She had been standing near me when I first noticed the ring was missing. Could she have seen something? Or was it possible? Was it possible that she was involved? The thought made my chest tighten. Anna and I had been close for so many years. We had laughed together, cried together, shared family memories. The idea that she could betray me in such a way seemed impossible. But the feeling in my gut told me something was off. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore the way she had been acting all evening. She had avoided my gaze every time I looked at her, and when I asked her about the ring, she seemed unusually distant. It wasn't like Anna to act this way, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. But still, I couldn't confront her without knowing more. I had to be certain before I accused anyone. As the night wore on, I tried to keep my mind focused, tried to ignore the gnawing worry that had taken over my thoughts, but it was impossible. The truth was out there, hidden behind smiles and laughter, and I would find it. I couldn't stop until I did. And when I did, everything would change. The hours dragged on, each second heavier than the last. I tried to keep my composure, pretending like everything was fine, but the emptiness in my hand, where the ring should have been felt like a constant reminder of my loss. The grand royal event had turned into something much darker in my mind. Every laugh, every cheerful greeting from my relatives seemed to echo with the question I could not escape: who had taken it? I couldn't stop thinking about the people around me, about the faces I had seen for years, family, friends, people I had known my whole life. Could it have been one of them? The thought alone felt impossible. But as the evening wore on, I couldn't help but feel the truth creeping closer. The thief was someone in this room, someone I knew, someone I had trusted. The idea twisted my stomach into knots. Anna's face kept appearing in my mind, her distant eyes, and the strange way she had been acting all night. It was like she was avoiding me, refusing to meet my gaze. I had tried to brush it off at first, telling myself that I was imagining things. But now, I couldn't ignore the growing suspicion. It was as if she was hiding something from me. I had always been able to read her. And yet, now, I felt a distance between us that I couldn't explain. I decided I needed to confront her. I couldn't go on wondering in silence, letting my thoughts swirl out of control. I had to know if she knew something, anything, that might lead me to the ring. So I approached her, keeping my voice calm, trying to appear as if nothing was wrong. "Anna," I said, my words quiet but firm. "Have you seen my ring? I think it's gone, and I don't know what happened to it." She looked at me, and for the first time all evening, her eyes didn't meet mine. She shifted uncomfortably, looking away quickly as if she were avoiding something. I felt a sinking feeling in my chest. It was like she was trying to hide something she wasn't willing to share with me. "I haven't seen it," she replied, her voice too quick, too sharp, but there was something in her tone that didn't sit right. I knew Anna well, and I could hear the unease in her voice, the lie wrapped in her words. Why wasn't she looking at me? Why was she acting this way? It didn't make sense. The guilt was written all over her face, even if she wasn't admitting it. My mind was racing now. I had to make a decision. Could I accuse her outright? No, not yet. I needed more proof, more answers. But what could I do? How could I get the truth from her without pushing too hard? The more I thought about it, the more certain I became. Anna was hiding something, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she knew more than she was letting on. But I couldn't act on suspicion alone. I needed to keep my cool, to watch and listen closely. The truth would come out, but only if I kept looking. As the evening wore on, I kept my distance from Anna, watching her closely, looking for any sign that she was hiding something. But every time our eyes met, she quickly looked away, like she was trying to hide something. It was enough to make my heart race even faster. I wasn't going to let this go. I would find out what had happened to my ring, no matter what. And when I did, nothing would ever be the same again. The night dragged on, but with each passing moment, I felt the pressure building inside me. I couldn't just let this go. My mind kept going back to Anna, her strange behavior, the way she avoided my gaze, the way she had reacted when I asked her about the ring. I knew something was off, but I wasn't sure what it was yet. The others around me were still chatting and laughing, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. Every smile, every pleasant word felt like a mask, hiding something darker beneath the surface. I kept telling myself not to jump to conclusions, not to accuse anyone without proof, but my gut was telling me that Anna was hiding something. It wasn't like her to act this way. We had been close our entire lives, sharing secrets, laughter, and even heartaches. But now, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was keeping something from me, something important. I had to find a way to get to the truth. But how? I couldn't just keep asking her and making her uncomfortable. I had to be subtle, careful. I needed to observe, to listen, to pay attention to everything she said and did. I decided to give it some time, to step back and let her come to me. I knew that people often revealed things when they thought no one was watching, when they weren't trying to hide their actions. So I focused on everything around me, watching the people at the party, trying to pick up any clues that might lead me to the truth. But with every glance I gave Anna, I felt a sinking feeling in my chest. The more I observed her, the more I realized that something about her was changing. She had always been confident, poised, someone I could rely on. But now, there was a nervous energy in her movements. It wasn't just the way she avoided eye contact. It was in the way she shifted her weight, the way she constantly looked around, as if she were waiting for something. I watched her carefully, trying to figure out what she was hiding. But the longer I watched, the more uncertain I became. Had I misjudged her? Could I be wrong? Maybe I was seeing things that weren't there, letting my own fears cloud my judgment. But I knew deep down that something wasn't right. Anna wasn't acting like herself, and that alone was enough to make my heart race with worry. I couldn't ignore it. I had to keep watching. My mind kept circling back to one thing. Where was the ring? I couldn't let go of the thought. My mind kept replaying the moment I first realized it was missing. The panic that had surged through me when I saw that empty space on my hand. It wasn't just about the ring anymore. It wasn't just about a piece of jewelry or a family heirloom. It was about trust. It was about betrayal. It was about the people I had allowed into my life, the people I had believed in, and the idea that one of them could hurt me like this. The more I thought about it, the more I felt the weight of the situation. I had to get to the truth. I couldn't rest until I knew what had happened. As the night wore on, I felt myself slipping deeper into the mystery, and I knew there was no turning back now. I had to find the thief, and if it was Anna, well, that would be a truth I didn't know if I was ready to face. But I would face it, because the truth had to come out, and I would stop at nothing to find it. The tension in the room was almost unbearable, but I had to keep calm. I couldn't let anyone see what I was really feeling. Every smile, every polite conversation felt like an act I was performing for everyone's benefit. The royal gathering, once a symbol of family unity, had turned into a maze of suspicion and doubt. My eyes kept drifting back to Anna, who was still moving around the room, laughing with the others, seemingly unaware of the storm brewing inside me. But I knew better. I could feel it. She was hiding something, and I couldn't let it go. I needed answers, but I couldn't rush it. If I pushed too hard, I could ruin everything, and I couldn't risk that, not when so much was at stake. I had to find a way to make her talk. But how? I couldn't just accuse her directly. She was my cousin, someone I had known all my life. We had shared memories, family secrets, and now there was a wall between us that I couldn't break through. It was like she was a stranger, standing there, laughing with everyone else, while I stood alone in my silence. I tried to keep my thoughts steady, but the more I watched her, the more unsettled I became. There were small things, tiny details that didn't sit right. The way she kept looking over her shoulder, the way she kept adjusting her dress as if she were hiding something, the way she flinched when I caught her eye. It was almost like she was trying to disappear into the background, as if she didn't want to be seen. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I couldn't stop thinking about the ring. The absence of it on my finger was a constant reminder of the betrayal that had happened, and I couldn't rest until I knew the truth. I needed more proof, something concrete. I had to gather my thoughts, stay focused, and watch closely. There were too many pieces of the puzzle still missing. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was imagining things. But deep down, I knew I wasn't. I had to trust my instincts. I moved closer to Anna, pretending to be lost in a conversation with another guest. My heart was pounding in my chest as I tried to keep my face neutral. I needed to find a way to get closer to her without drawing attention. I wasn't sure what I was hoping for, maybe a slip of the tongue, maybe a careless glance, something that would give me the answers I so desperately needed. But she didn't say anything. She didn't look at me. It was like I didn't exist to her. The longer I stood there, watching her, the more I realized how much this situation was beginning to consume me. The royal gathering, which had once been a celebration of family and tradition, had turned into a battlefield. And at the center of it all was me, fighting to hold onto the trust that had been shattered, fighting to uncover the truth that was hidden just beneath the surface. I wasn't going to give up. I couldn't. I had to know what happened to my ring, and if it meant facing the uncomfortable truth about Anna, then I would do it. The night was far from over, and I knew that the answers were out there. I just had to keep looking, keep observing, and wait for the right moment to make my move, because I knew deep down that the truth was closer than I thought. And when it came out, everything would change. The night felt like it was never going to end. The laughter and music around me became a blur, fading into the background as my mind raced with questions. Every conversation seemed like an echo, while the only thing I could focus on was Anna. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something from me, but how could I prove it? How could I confront her without making things worse? I had known her my entire life. We had shared so many moments together, both good and bad. And now I was standing here in the same room with a sense of betrayal so strong that it felt like a physical weight. I couldn't believe it, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized I had to get answers. The truth, whatever it was, had to come out. The ring was gone, and I needed to know who had taken it. I needed to know why. I watched Anna closely, trying to catch a glimpse of any sign, anything that would give me a clue. But all she did was laugh and chat with everyone around her, just like nothing was wrong. It made me feel even more isolated. I was the only one in the room who understood how serious this was. But I couldn't just accuse her. That would tear everything apart. I had to be careful. I had to be smart about it. I couldn't let my emotions take control. Even though every part of me screamed to confront her, I knew Anna, and I knew her well. She wasn't perfect, but she wasn't the type to betray someone without reason. So why was she acting so strange? Why was she avoiding me? And why was it so hard to find her when I needed her? Every time I tried to get closer, she seemed to disappear into the crowd. It was like she was avoiding me on purpose, making sure I couldn't catch her alone. It made my heart ache. I had always relied on Anna. She had been my confidant, the person I could always turn to. But now I felt like I didn't know her at all. I had to keep my cool. I had to stay calm and not let my emotions take over. But it was hard. Every time I looked at her, my mind filled with suspicion, with doubt. I couldn't stop myself from wondering if she had taken it, if she had betrayed me in the worst way possible. My heart ached as I watched her laugh, her eyes glinting with something I couldn't read. I knew she was hiding something. The question was, what? What was she hiding? And why wouldn't she tell me? Every second felt like an eternity as I stood there, trying to figure out what to do. My hands were clammy, my mind spinning with possibilities. Could it have been Anna? Could she have taken the ring? I couldn't stop thinking about it. The more I thought about her behavior, the more it all seemed to point back to her. But could I really accuse her without knowing for sure? Could I destroy everything we had for a hunch, a feeling in my gut? My heart told me to act, but my mind told me to wait. The truth was out there, and I knew I had to find it, no matter what it took. The answers were just beyond my reach, hidden behind the smile on Anna's face, behind the laughter she shared with everyone else. But I wasn't going to let it go. I couldn't, not when so much was at stake. The tension in the air was suffocating, and I could feel it in my bones. It was like I couldn't breathe properly, with the weight of the situation pressing down on me. Every time I looked at Anna, I felt a deep, uncomfortable knot in my stomach. My mind kept cycling back to the same questions. Could she really have taken my ring? How could I have missed something so important? I had trusted her for years, shared so much of my life with her, and now it felt like everything was unraveling right in front of me. How could she betray me like this? Was I wrong to think that someone close to me, someone I loved, could ever hurt me in such a way? I couldn't stop my thoughts from spiraling. My eyes followed Anna across the room, where she was laughing with a group of people. The smile on her face, a stark contrast to the storm inside me. But that smile felt forced, hollow, and it only made the suspicion in my chest grow stronger. The more I watched her, the more the pieces seemed to fall into place. The way she had avoided me all evening, the strange way she had responded when I asked about the ring. It all started to feel too much like a guilty secret. I felt like I was walking a tightrope, trying not to fall. But the uncertainty was starting to overwhelm me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was on the edge of a truth I wasn't ready to face. But the more I thought about it, the more it seemed like I had no choice. I had to confront her. I had to find out once and for all whether she was involved. The problem was that I couldn't just accuse her. Not yet. I needed something more, some kind of proof that would confirm my worst fears. I had to be careful, though. If I made the wrong move, if I said the wrong thing, it could ruin everything, my relationship with Anna, with the entire family. It was too much to risk. But I also knew that the longer I waited, the harder it would be to face the truth. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine, that nothing was wrong. The more time passed, the more the knot in my stomach tightened. I watched Anna again, trying to understand her every move, but all I saw was the same confident facade she always wore. I had to get closer to her, find a way to make her open up. But how? How could I get the truth from someone who was so determined to hide it? My thoughts raced, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt the panic begin to rise in me. What if I was wrong? What if I had made all of this up in my head? What if I was the one who was betraying Anna by doubting her? But deep down, I knew that the feeling in my gut wasn't just paranoia. There was something off about her, something she wasn't saying. And the longer I waited to confront her, the more the doubt ate at me. I couldn't wait any longer. It wasn't just about the ring anymore. It was about trust, about family, about understanding who I could really count on when everything else fell apart. The answers were out there, and I was getting closer to uncovering them. But how much longer could I stay in this world of uncertainty? How much longer could I pretend everything was fine when all I wanted was the truth? The night seemed to stretch on forever, each moment filled with uncertainty and the deep ache of betrayal. I tried to stay calm, to hold onto the last shred of control, but the situation was slipping away from me. Every time I looked at Anna, I felt like I was seeing her for the first time. But the person I saw now was not the one I had known and trusted for so long. Her smile no longer seemed warm. It felt distant, as though she was hiding something just beneath the surface. I couldn't understand it. We had shared so many moments together, been through so much, and yet now she was a stranger to me. How could someone I had considered so close be so far away, both physically and emotionally? It wasn't just the way she avoided me, or the way she had lied when I asked about the ring. It was the way she seemed to disappear into the crowd when I needed her most. The more I thought about it, the more the pieces started to fit together in a way that I didn't want them to. Could it really be Anna? Could she have taken my ring, the one that had been passed down in my family for generations? It felt impossible. The thought of it cut deeper than anything else, but the evidence was mounting. Every time I looked at her, my heart sank just a little more. There was something about her movements, her demeanor, that didn't sit right with me anymore. I had to know the truth. I had to know if she was the one who had betrayed me. But how could I confront her? If I was wrong, if I accused her without proof, I could lose everything. I couldn't afford to make a mistake like that. But the longer I waited, the harder it became to pretend everything was fine. I kept thinking back to the night the ring had gone missing, trying to recall every detail, Every moment, every conversation, I tried to piece together the events, but it felt like I was chasing shadows. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how little I really knew. Who else could it be? Who else had the opportunity to take it? And why was Anna acting this way? It was like she was playing a part in a play, pretending to be the person I knew. But everything about her had changed. The way she looked at me, the way she spoke to me, it was all wrong. And yet she still smiled, still acted like everything was normal. The betrayal was like a knife twisting in my gut, but I couldn't let it show. I had to stay calm. I had to gather the courage to confront her. But how? How could I possibly ask her if she had taken it? What if she denied it and made me look like the one who was wrong? The fear of being wrong, of accusing someone I loved, made my stomach turn. But the more I thought about it, the more I knew I couldn't let it go. I had to face her. I had to find out if she was hiding something. But it wasn't just about the ring anymore. It was about trust. It was about the foundation of our relationship. Everything we had built over the years. If Anna had taken my ring, it wasn't just a piece of jewelry that was gone. It was the trust that had been broken. And that was the hardest part to swallow. I had to face the truth, even if it meant facing something I wasn't ready for. But I couldn't keep living in this uncertain space. I needed answers. I needed to know if Anna was the one who had stolen from me. And if she was, I needed to know why. The night was far from over, but I was getting closer. I could feel it. And no matter how much it hurt, I had to find the truth. The evening seemed to go on forever. It was like time had slowed down, each minute dragging on as I struggled to keep my emotions in check. I could feel the weight of the situation on my shoulders, heavier with every step I took. The laughter and chatter of the party around me only seemed to highlight how much I was struggling inside. I could still see Anna across the room, talking with friends, acting like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I couldn't stop thinking about the ring, the one piece of family history that had been passed down to me for generations. The ring was not just an object. It was a symbol of trust, of the bonds I had with my family. Losing it wasn't just losing a piece of jewelry. It felt like losing a part of who I was. And yet, here I was, standing in the middle of a royal gathering, surrounded by people I thought I could trust, and my most valuable possession was gone. But it wasn't just the ring. It was the feeling of betrayal that stung the most. I couldn't shake the idea that someone close to me, someone I cared about, was the one who had taken it. The thought of Anna being that person was almost impossible to accept. How could she? She was family. We had shared so much over the years, good times, bad times, and everything in between. She had always been there for me, but now it felt like everything was turning upside down. I couldn't ignore the signs anymore. Every time I looked at her, I felt a deep unease in my chest. She was avoiding me, not meeting my gaze, speaking to everyone except me. It wasn't just the little things, the way she shifted uncomfortably when I was near. It was the way she acted like nothing was wrong. I had to know the truth. I had to find out if she was hiding something from me. But how could I approach her without making things worse? If I was wrong, I could ruin everything. The last thing I wanted to do was accuse her without proof. I knew Anna well. She wasn't the type to act like this without a reason. Something had changed, and I had to figure out what. But the more I thought about it, the harder it was to ignore my gut feeling. Every moment I spent thinking about the ring, about Anna, the more the truth seemed to become clearer. She was hiding something. I could feel it in the pit of my stomach. But how could I get her to admit it? How could I ask her if she had taken my ring without sounding crazy? I didn't know what to do. The more I waited, the more the doubt in my mind grew. What if she was the one? What if I was right? But what if I was wrong? The fear of being wrong, of accusing her without proof, kept me frozen in place. I couldn't take that risk, and yet I couldn't ignore the growing suspicion. I had to find a way to get to the truth. But how? The party was still going on around me, the guests oblivious to the storm that was brewing inside me. Every smile, every polite conversation felt like a lie. I could hear the laughter, but it didn't reach me. I felt more alone than ever. I had always been the calm one, the one who could handle anything, but now I felt like I was falling apart inside. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding in my chest, but I couldn't let anyone see it. I couldn't let anyone know just how much I was struggling. I had to stay calm. I had to keep it together, but the truth was, I didn't know how much longer I could pretend. The answers I was looking for were out there, somewhere, hidden in plain sight. I just had to find them, and when I did, everything would change. I could feel the weight of every passing moment pressing down on me as the evening went on. The laughter, the music, and the sounds of people enjoying themselves only seemed to grow more distant with each step I took. My thoughts were a whirlwind, and no matter how hard I tried to focus on anything else, they always circled back to Anna and the ring. I couldn't escape it. My mind kept replaying the night the ring went missing, trying to find a clue, a sign, something that would explain how it had disappeared. Every time I tried to remember, it felt like there was a gap, a space in the timeline I couldn't fill. And the more I thought about it, the more frustrated I became. It was like I was chasing a shadow, unable to catch it. But there was one thing I knew for sure. The ring didn't just disappear on its own. Someone had taken it. And as much as I hated to admit it, I couldn't stop thinking that Anna was the one. It was almost impossible to wrap my mind around it. Anna, my cousin, my confidant. How could she do something like this? How could she betray me? And worse, betray the family by taking something so precious? I couldn't understand it, but at the same time, I couldn't ignore the growing sense that she was hiding something. The way she had avoided me all night, the way her eyes darted away when I caught her gaze, it all felt like something was off. And yet, she still wore that smile, like nothing had happened. Everything was fine. But it wasn't fine at all. I had to do something, I knew that much. I had to confront her, but how? How could I accuse her without knowing for sure? The fear of being wrong was paralyzing. If I accused her and she denied it, if I made her feel like I didn't trust her, what would that do to our relationship? What would that do to the family? I couldn't just throw away years of trust and love on a hunch, on something I couldn't prove. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I couldn't ignore my instincts either. I had to face her. I had to ask her directly, but I didn't know how. I had never been in a situation like this before, where someone I cared about could hurt me so deeply. The idea of confronting Anna made my stomach churn, but I couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay, that nothing was wrong. I needed to know if she was involved, even if it meant facing the hardest truth I had ever known. It was like I was standing on the edge of something so big and so important that I couldn't turn away from it. I couldn't just ignore it and hope it would go away. If Anna had taken the ring, then the foundation of everything I had known was built on lies. And if she hadn't, then I needed to find the truth, because I couldn't keep living in this sea of doubt and uncertainty. I had to find the answers, even if it meant facing a reality I didn't want to face. The clock was ticking. The night had turned colder, and I could feel it in my bones. As the hours passed, the weight on my chest only grew heavier. I had tried to ignore it, to tell myself I was overthinking things, but the truth was becoming clearer. With each passing second, I couldn't escape what was happening. The ring was gone, and with it, a part of my trust in the people around me had been shattered. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay. My mind kept racing back to Anna, to her strange behavior that night, the way she avoided me, the way she kept disappearing into the crowd. It was all starting to make sense now. And yet, I still couldn't believe it. Could it really be her? How could she do this to me? How could she take something that meant so much? Something that had been passed down through generations in my family. I had always trusted Anna. We had been through so much together, shared memories and secrets. And yet here I was, questioning her in ways I never thought I would. My heart felt heavy as I thought about the consequences of what I was considering. If I confronted her and I was wrong, it could tear our entire family apart. I could never forgive myself for that. But if I didn't confront her, if I let this go on, then I would be allowing myself to live with a lie that would gnaw at me until I couldn't bear it anymore. The more I thought about it, the more I realized there was no easy way out. I had to face her. I had to find out if she was the one who took my ring. But how could I even begin that conversation? How could I bring it up without making her feel like I was accusing her? The fear of her reaction gripped me. What if she denied it, acted like everything was fine, and I still didn't have the proof I needed? What if she made me feel like I was crazy for even thinking she could do something like that? Every part of me told me that I couldn't just go up to her and accuse her directly. That would destroy everything, wouldn't it? It would tear apart our relationship, and I wasn't sure if I could handle that. But then there was another part of me, the part that just couldn't ignore the signs anymore. The way she looked at me with such discomfort, the way she had kept her distance all night. It all added up. There were too many small clues that pointed to her, and even though I didn't want to believe it, I couldn't ignore them any longer. My gut was telling me something I didn't want to hear, but I had to face it. I couldn't keep living in this fog of doubt. I needed answers, and I needed them now. I had always prided myself on being calm, on being the person others could rely on. But right now, I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, afraid of what would happen if I jumped. What would happen to my family? What would happen to Anna and me? If I was wrong, I could lose her forever. But if I didn't confront her, if I didn't face the truth, then I would lose myself. I couldn't live with that. I knew I had to take the next step. I had to find a way to ask Anna the question that had been haunting me all night. I had to get the truth, even if it broke me, even if it broke her. The truth was more important than anything else now, and I couldn't let it go. The pain of living in uncertainty was far worse than the pain of facing the truth, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. Every part of me wanted to delay it, to hold onto the hope that maybe I was wrong. But deep down, I knew that it was time to stop pretending. The answers were waiting, and the only way to find them was to face Anna and Dee. With each moment that passed, the fear of losing what I had with Anna grew stronger. But the truth was out there, and I had to keep looking. Even if it was the hardest thing I had ever done, the tension in the air was thick, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. Every sound, every movement around me seemed distant, as if I were in a bubble, isolated from everything happening in the room. I kept glancing over at Anna, still mingling with everyone as though nothing was wrong. But to me, everything was wrong. My mind was racing, trying to find a way to approach her, but I couldn't figure out how. It felt impossible to break through the wall between us. I wanted to confront her, to ask her directly, but how could I? What if I was wrong? What if I ruined everything with a question that didn't even make sense? The thought of losing Anna of losing our relationship was unbearable. She had been more than just family to me. She had been my friend, my confidant. And now I was staring at her, feeling like I was losing both. My heart ached as I watched her laugh, talk, and smile as if nothing had changed. But inside, everything had changed. The truth was eating away at me. I could feel it deep in my gut, the nagging suspicion that she was hiding something from me. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. The ring didn't just disappear on its own. Someone had taken it, and the only person who seemed to be acting in a way that made me question everything was Anna. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to find out if she was the one who had taken it. But how? The thought of accusing her, even just asking the question, seemed impossible. If I was wrong, I could hurt her. I could destroy everything we had. But if I didn't ask, I would have to live with this doubt forever. I couldn't carry this weight around any longer. I had to know the truth. I kept thinking about the moments we'd shared, the laughter, the love, the trust. I couldn't believe that she, of all people, could hurt me like this. But the signs were there, the way she kept avoiding me, the way her smile never quite reached her eyes, the way she seemed to slip away from my presence every time I got too close. It was all adding up. My thoughts were chaotic, and no matter how hard I tried to quiet them, they kept coming back to the same conclusion. Anna was hiding something. I just couldn't ignore it any longer. I had to face her. I had to ask her the question that had been eating away at me. But even as I thought about it, I hesitated. The fear of what might happen next held me back. What if she denied it? What if she made me feel like I was crazy for even considering that she could be the one? What if this conversation ended everything? I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready to lose the bond we had, even if it was already slipping through my fingers. But at the same time, I knew that I couldn't live with the uncertainty. The doubt was worse than the pain of the truth. So I made a decision. I would confront her. I would ask her, and I would get my answer, no matter what it cost. It wouldn't be easy, but I had to do it. I couldn't keep standing here, pretending like everything was fine when my heart was breaking. The truth had to come out. The pain of living with this doubt was far worse than the pain of facing the truth, whatever it might be. And so, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the conversation that was about to change everything. The truth was waiting, and I was finally ready to find it. I had reached a breaking point. My heart was racing as I stood there, watching Anna, unable to ignore the storm of thoughts that had been swirling in my mind all night. Every time I looked at her, I felt like the space between us had grown wider. And yet, I didn't know how to close that gap. The party was still going on around me, but I was no longer part of it. The faces, the music, the conversations, they were all a blur. All I could focus on was Anna and the truth that had to come out. My mind kept playing the same thoughts over and over again. What if it was her? What if I was right? It hurt to even think about it. But the more I watched her, the more I felt like I had no choice but to face it. I had to know. But the fear of confronting her, of bringing everything into the open, was paralyzing. If I asked her, what would she say? What if she denied it? What if she looked me in the eye and told me I was wrong? The possibility of that was terrifying. It wasn't just about the ring anymore. It was about everything. It was about trust, betrayal, and the foundation of our relationship. If I was wrong, I could hurt her. I could destroy everything we had built over the years. But if I didn't ask, if I didn't find out the truth, I would live with this doubt for the rest of my life. It wasn't just about the ring. It was about my peace of mind, about knowing I had done everything I could to uncover the truth. I couldn't keep living in this space of uncertainty. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that the longer I waited, the worse it would get. It would eat away at me until I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to face it now, no matter the cost. I had to find a way to talk to Anna, to get the truth from her, even if it broke me, even if it broke her. But where would I start? How could I say the words? How could I ask her something that might tear apart everything we had shared? My chest tightened as I thought about the consequences. What if I was wrong? The doubt was eating at me, gnawing at me with every breath I took. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to know if Anna had taken the ring, and if she had, I needed to understand why. My thoughts were a blur, but one thing was clear. This couldn't go on any longer. I couldn't stay silent, pretending like everything was fine, when inside, I was falling apart. It wasn't just about the ring. It was about trust. It was about honesty. It was about the love and connection I thought we had. If I didn't ask her now, I might lose the chance to ever know the truth. And no matter how much it scared me, no matter how much it hurt, I couldn't live with that. I had to find out. So, I took a deep breath, gathered every ounce of courage I had left, and started walking toward her. Every step felt like a weight, but I couldn't stop now. The truth was waiting, and no matter how much it frightened me, I had to hear it. As I approached Anna, I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, every beat echoing in my ears. I wasn't sure if it was the nervousness or the fear of what was about to happen that was making my hands shake. The closer I got, the harder it became to breathe. It felt like the air had grown heavier, and every step felt like a weight I couldn't carry. I knew I had to do this. I had to confront her, no matter how much I was dreading it. But the fear of what might happen if I was wrong, of what could happen to my relationship with her, to our family, kept swirling in my mind. What if I was making a mistake? The question haunted me, but I couldn't turn back now. I had come this far, and I had to know the truth. As I reached her, she looked up and smiled, that familiar smile that I had known for years. But now, that smile felt different, like a mask, something she was hiding behind. The moment she saw me, her smile faltered just for a second, and it was like a flash of recognition passed through her eyes. I could tell she knew something was coming, that something was about to change. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, but the words felt stuck in my throat. How could I even begin? How could I ask her something so personal, so difficult, when all I wanted was for everything to go back to normal? But it was too late for normal now. I had to ask. I had to face whatever was lurking beneath the surface, even if it meant uncovering something I wasn't ready for. Anna, I started, my voice softer than I expected. There's something I need to ask you. I saw her stiffen, just a little, but it was enough for me to know that she felt the tension in the air too. I swallowed hard, trying to gather the courage to say the words that had been choking me for hours. I need to know if you took the ring, I said, and as the words left my mouth, it felt like the world around us stopped. I couldn't look away from her. Her face had gone pale, and for the first time that evening, I saw something in her eyes that I couldn't quite place, a flicker of fear, guilt. I couldn't tell. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out at first. For a moment, she just stared at me, and I could see the way her mind was working, the way she was trying to figure out how to respond. The silence stretched on, and I could feel the weight of it pressing down on both of us. I waited, my heart beating so loudly in my ears, I thought I might go deaf. Then, finally, she spoke, but her words weren't what I expected. I didn't take it, she said, but her voice was shaky, unsure. It didn't sound convincing, and I could feel the doubt creeping back in. She wasn't meeting my eyes, and her hands were trembling ever so slightly. It wasn't enough. Something in me told me she was hiding something, and I couldn't let go of that feeling. The question I had asked her had opened a door, but the answers were still locked behind it. I didn't know, but I could feel it in my gut that I wasn't getting the whole story. I had to press her. I had to dig deeper, even if it meant making her uncomfortable, even if it meant risking everything. The truth was too important to leave it here. I couldn't just let it go. So I waited, watching her, feeling the tension build in the silence between us. And for the first time that night, I felt like I was on the verge of something huge. But what was it? What was I about to uncover? And more importantly, would I be able to handle the truth when it finally came to light? The seconds stretched into what felt like hours. As Anna's shaky words hung in the air between us, I could see the panic in her eyes, the way she struggled to maintain her composure. For a moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, she was telling the truth. But something about the way she wouldn't look me in the eye, the way her hands were fidgeting, made my heart sink. I could feel the truth, or at least part of it, slipping just out of reach. The doubt that had been gnawing at me from the very beginning was growing louder, demanding to be heard. Was she lying? The thought came to me like a sudden flash, and it was as though a door had opened in my mind. I couldn't ignore the feeling that something wasn't right. "Anna," I said again, my voice softer this time, but still firm. I had to push. I couldn't stop now. "I don't believe you. I need you to be honest with me. Did you take the ring?" The question hung between us, heavy and thick with emotion. I could feel the weight of it pushing down on me, the uncertainty, the fear of what her answer might be. I could tell she was trying to keep her cool, but I could see it slipping away. Her lips trembled, and her eyes darted around the room, avoiding mine. She was stalling, and I wasn't about to let her get away with it. I needed the truth, and I needed it now. "Anna, please. This isn't just about the ring. It's about trust. You've been acting different all night, avoiding me, and I can't ignore it anymore," I said, my voice starting to shake with the weight of everything that had been building up. The words felt like they were coming from somewhere deep inside, a place I didn't know existed until now. Anna didn't say anything at first. She just stood there, staring at the floor. It was like she was trying to come up with a way to escape, a way to get out of this conversation without admitting anything. My heart was racing, and the longer she stayed silent, the more I could feel the walls closing in around me. I couldn't breathe. This was the moment where everything would either fall apart or start to make sense. If Anna didn't tell me the truth, I knew I would never look at her the same way again. The ring wasn't just a valuable piece of jewelry. It was something far more precious. It was a symbol of everything we had shared. All the trust, all the love, all the memories. To lose that would mean losing so much more than just an object. It would mean losing a part of who we were. I waited. I needed her to speak, to give me something, anything that would tell me where the truth lay. I couldn't stand the silence any longer. Finally, Anna looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw something real in her eyes, a flicker of something that made me believe she was about to say something important. She took a deep breath, and then she whispered, "I didn't take it, but I know who did." The words hit me like a slap in the face, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. My heart stopped. What was she saying? Who could have taken it if not her? I felt a wave of confusion rush over me, but at the same time, there was a part of me that wanted to believe her. I had been so focused on her, on the idea that she had taken it, that I hadn't considered anyone else. And now, suddenly, the whole situation was shifting again. Who had taken it? The questions were flooding my mind, and I could feel the tension building to a breaking point. I didn't know whether to feel relief or fear. I was standing at the edge of something, and I had no idea what was waiting on the other side. But one thing was clear: this conversation wasn't over. It was just beginning. I stood there, frozen in place, as Anna's words echoed in my mind. I know who did it. The shock of what she had just said hit me like a wave, leaving me breathless. I had been so focused on her, so sure that she was the one who had taken the ring, that I hadn't even considered the possibility that someone else could be involved. The idea felt foreign, unsettling. Who could it be? My mind raced, trying to process the new information, but nothing made sense. For a few moments, we just stood there in silence, staring at each other. My heart was beating so fast it felt like it might explode. I had to know more. Who took it, Anna? I asked, my voice trembling slightly despite my best efforts to stay calm. Anna's face was a mixture of guilt and fear, and I could see her fighting with herself, trying to decide whether or not to tell me. The silence stretched between us, thick with the weight of her secret. My mind was screaming for answers, but it felt like she was holding back, like she was afraid of something. What was so terrible about the truth that she couldn't share it with me? I had trusted her, and now I felt like she was pushing me away, hiding something from me. My patience was running thin, and I could feel the anger rising inside me. I wasn't going to let her keep this from me. I couldn't. Tell me, Anna, I said, my voice firmer now. Who took the ring? I need to know. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Anna spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. It was Jessica. My breath caught in my throat. Jessica. My mind couldn't process the name right away. Jessica was part of the family, a cousin I had always liked and trusted. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jessica. The thought felt like a punch to the gut. How could she do this? How could she betray the family like that? The shock of it all made me feel lightheaded. I had never suspected Jessica in a million years. All my focus had been on Anna, and now the truth was completely different. But what made it worse was the way Anna said it. There was no hesitation, no doubt in her voice. She knew. She was sure. Are you sure? I asked, my voice hoarse as the words escaped my lips. Anna nodded, her eyes still avoiding mine. I saw her with it. She took it when no one was looking, and when I asked her about it, she just brushed me off. She lied to me, Janet. She said she didn't know where it was, but I know what I saw. My mind was reeling, trying to make sense of everything. Jessica, of all people. I had to admit, part of me wanted to deny it, to believe that Anna was mistaken, that Jessica couldn't possibly have done this. But the truth was staring me in the face, and I couldn't ignore it. I had to face it. The person I had trusted the most had stolen from me, from all of us. The betrayal stung more than I could have imagined. It was one thing to have someone outside the family do something like this, but someone who was supposed to be a part of it, that cut deeper than I had ever expected. My hands were shaking, and I could feel my knees start to give way as the weight of the revelation hit me. I had to sit down, but I didn't want to look weak, not in front of Anna, not when everything was falling apart. But I couldn't stand there any longer. I needed to process this. I needed to understand why. Why had Jessica done this? What was her reason? What could possibly have driven her to steal something so precious? There were so many questions swirling in my mind, but the answers seemed so far away. I wanted to confront Jessica immediately, to demand answers, but a part of me wasn't sure I was ready for that. I wasn't ready to face her, to hear the lies that I knew would come spilling out. I needed time, time to process, time to think. But more than anything, I needed to understand how someone I had loved and trusted could betray me so completely. The truth was no longer a simple question of who had taken the ring. It was a question of why. Why Jessica? And what did this mean for everything I thought I knew about my family? The truth was harder to swallow than I could have ever imagined. Jessica, my cousin, the girl I had trusted as family, had taken the ring. The betrayal was so deep, it felt like it was eating away at me, like a wound that refused to heal. I couldn't stop thinking about it. How could I have missed it? How could I have been so blind? All this time, I had been focused on Anna, certain that she was the one hiding something from me. But it wasn't her. It was Jessica, the one person I never thought would hurt me. My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of everything, but nothing seemed to add up. Why would she do it? What could have driven her to steal something so precious, something so important to me, to the family? I kept going over the events in my head, trying to find clues, trying to figure out when everything started to go wrong. But the truth was, I couldn't see any signs, couldn't remember a single moment where Jessica had shown any indication that she was capable of doing something like this. She had always been the one I leaned on, the one I confided in. She was part of the family, and we had shared so many memories together. To think that she had taken something so precious from me without any remorse, without any guilt, felt like a stab in the heart. I felt a lump form in my throat, and my chest tightened as I tried to process the enormity of what I was learning. Everything I thought I knew about my family, about the people I loved, was being called into question. The pain of the betrayal wasn't just about the ring. It was about trust, about the foundation of everything I had built with these people. My mind kept going back to Anna, to the way she had hesitated when she first told me about Jessica. Was she afraid of what would happen if I found out? Or was there something more, something that Anna wasn't telling me? I wanted to trust her. I wanted to believe that she was just trying to protect me. But part of me couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story. I needed to find out more, but I wasn't sure if I was ready to confront Jessica just yet. What if she denied it? What if she tried to make me feel like I was imagining things, like I was overreacting? The thought of that made me sick to my stomach. I didn't know if I could handle the truth any more than I already had. I needed time to think, to process everything. The betrayal had shaken me to my core, and I wasn't sure how to pick up the pieces. But deep down, I knew that I couldn't just sit here, lost in my own feelings of hurt and confusion. I had to do something. I had to confront Jessica, but I wasn't sure how. The last thing I wanted was to make things worse, to lose her completely. But at the same time, I knew I couldn't just ignore it, couldn't just let her get away with something so wrong. The conflict inside me was overwhelming. I didn't want to lose Jessica, but I also didn't want to live in a world where trust was so easily shattered. I had to find a way to bring this to light, to make sure that the truth was known, even if it meant facing the hardest, most painful part of this journey. But how? How could I ask her about it without tearing everything apart? The more I thought about it, the more I realized that I had no choice. I couldn't keep living in the shadow of doubt, and I couldn't let the pain of betrayal define everything I felt. I had to face Jessica, and I had to do it soon. My heart felt heavy, and every part of me wanted to run away from the situation, to pretend it wasn't happening. But I knew that wasn't the answer. The truth was waiting, and I couldn't keep hiding from it. The room felt suffocating as I sat there, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. Jessica. I couldn't shake the word from my mind. The name echoed in my head over and over again, like a bad dream that wouldn't go away. I had trusted her. She had always been there, in the background, a part of our family. She had never given me a reason to doubt her. Yet now, everything felt different. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into the unknown, unsure of what would happen if I took the next step. My hands trembled as I held my phone, staring at the messages between us. Every word she had sent seemed so innocent, so normal, but now it felt like a lie. I wondered if she had been hiding something from me all this time. Had she planned this all along? Or was there something I had missed, a clue that I couldn't see before? I thought about all the times we had spent together, the moments we shared, and now it felt like they were tainted. Every smile, every conversation felt like a mask that she had worn. I didn't know if I could ever look at her the same way again. I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine. My heart was still racing, my chest tight with anxiety. How could I even begin to ask her about it? What if she lied again? What if she denied everything, tried to make me feel like I was crazy for suspecting her? The thought of facing her and hearing her try to talk her way out of it made my stomach turn. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think that this was all a misunderstanding, that somehow I had gotten it wrong. But deep down, I knew I couldn't ignore the signs. The pieces were starting to fall into place, and I couldn't pretend that everything was normal anymore. I had to ask her. I had to look her in the eyes and hear the truth, even if it was the hardest thing I would ever have to do. The fear of what I might hear was paralyzing. What if I was wrong? What if I ruined everything? But what if I didn't ask? What if I let this doubt linger and let it poison everything? The idea of living with this uncertainty for the rest of my life was unbearable. I had to know, even if the truth shattered everything I thought I knew about Jessica, about my family. I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was off, and I couldn't keep pretending like I wasn't hurting. The anger was bubbling up inside me now, mixing with the pain, making it even harder to breathe. Why had she done this? What could have possibly driven her to betray me like this? I had so many questions, but no answers. Just the growing feeling that everything I knew was about to change. I couldn't stay here, stuck in this moment, not knowing what to do next. I had to act. I had to face Jessica and get the truth, no matter what. The fear was still there, but it was starting to fade, replaced by a sense of determination. I wasn't going to let this consume me. I wasn't going to let her betrayal take away my peace of mind. I had to confront her, and I had to do it now. The longer I waited, the harder it would be. I could feel the tension in my chest, but I pushed it aside. It was time to act. The truth needed to come out, and it needed to come out now. So I stood up, my legs unsteady, but my mind clear. I wasn't going to back down. It was time to face her, to ask the questions that had been tormenting me. I couldn't keep running from the truth. It was right in front of me, and it was time to confront it. Head on, I found Jessica in the corner of the room, standing with a glass in her hand, talking to a few others. But I could tell she was distracted. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. There was something about her that looked different, colder, like she was trying to avoid the truth. I felt a wave of nausea hit me as I approached her. My heart was still pounding in my chest, each beat heavy with dread, but I knew I couldn't wait any longer. This was it, the moment I had been dreading. I had to face her and ask the questions that had been tormenting me. I walked up to her, and she immediately looked up, her expression faltering for just a second. The way her eyes shifted told me everything I needed to know. She knew this moment was coming. She knew I had figured it out. I stood there, not saying anything at first, just looking at her, hoping she would say something to break the silence. But she didn't. Finally, I took a deep breath and asked, "Jessica, did you take the ring?" My voice was steady, but inside, I was shaking. I couldn't tell if I was ready for her to answer. She stared at me for a moment, and for the first time, I saw guilt in her eyes. It wasn't just fear. It wasn't just surprise. It was guilt, and I knew it. She wasn't going to deny it anymore. "Yes," she whispered, and the word hit me like a punch to the stomach. My whole body froze as I absorbed the weight of her confession, the betrayal, the hurt, everything I had been feeling for the past few hours. It all came rushing back at once. She had taken it. My diamond ring, the thing I had cherished so much, had been stolen by the person I thought I could trust the most. My world felt like it was falling apart. But then Jessica spoke again, her voice quieter now. "I'm sorry, Janet. I don't know why I did it. I was desperate. I needed the money." Her words hung in the air, heavy and full of regret. I wanted to scream at her, to tell her how much she had hurt me. But instead, I just stood there, stunned. She had been so close to me, so close to our family. And yet, here she was, confessing to something that seemed so out of character. The reason she gave me didn't even make sense. Desperate for money. Was that really the reason she had taken something that meant so much to me, to our family? "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ask for help?" I asked, my voice breaking. She lowered her head, unable to meet my eyes. "I was too proud. I thought I could fix it on my own. But I was wrong." I felt a pang of sadness for her, but it didn't change what she had done. She had taken something from me, something that could never be replaced. And now, everything between us was different. The trust we had, the bond we shared, it was all broken. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to feel angry, to feel like I could walk away and never look back. But the truth was, I still cared about her. And that made everything harder. The anger I felt was mixed with disappointment. And that was the hardest part to deal with. I had to accept that Jessica had done this, that my world had been shaken by someone I loved, and it hurt more than I could ever express. But in that moment, I realized something important. Sometimes people make terrible mistakes, and sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who hurt us the most. But that doesn't mean we have to let that destroy us. It doesn't mean we have to walk away from everything. It meant I had to forgive. But that didn't mean I would forget. I couldn't trust her the way I did before, but I could learn to move forward. The truth had come out, and while it had broken me, it also allowed me to heal. As I stood there, staring at Jessica, I knew that things would never be the same, but I was stronger now, and I would rebuild. I didn't have all the answers yet, but I knew I was going to be okay. This was the end of one chapter, and the beginning of a new one. And no matter how hard it was, I was ready to take that first step into the future, even if I was carrying the weight of this betrayal with me. "Thank you for telling me the truth, Jessica," I said, my voice steady now. She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. It was the first time I saw her vulnerability, and in that moment, I realized that maybe, just maybe, she was truly sorry. But that was something only time would tell. If you understand how hard it is to trust again after being betrayed, thank you for watching, and goodbye.